What to do, man? Welcome to the Mogul Mission, man. Today, man, we have Mr. Jason Burroughs, man. How you doing today?
And I'm doing great, brother. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. We've been chopping it up on camera, man, but go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Jason Burroughs. I am CEO of CNB Transportation and Sky Blue Logistics. I also have a consulting educational firm called Coach Jason Cultivates.
Okay. And what made you want to get into transportation?
So I have a moving company that I started in 2010, Able Body Moving and Delivery, and so that's how I originally got into it. Moving was kind of like my hustle, kind of in college and stuff. So end up getting into that, and so COVID ended up hitting in 2020, which kind of messed up the workforce, and so. At the time, I was doing work with the Dannon Project as far as workforce development, and I noticed that out of all of the pathways that they had, that CDL and trucking was one of the pathways to where people can make a viable, livable wage. And so that's what ended up, making me want to start the trucking company to offer people, opportunities to make 60, 70, $80,000, coming out of incarceration or being at risk, not having those same barriers to entry. And so that's how we end up starting CNB.
Man, hey, big salute to that, man. And I see you're a top 40.
Yeah, I was an honoree this year. So.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
Honestly, I was surprised. Honestly, it wasn't something that I was seeking out. One of my mentors told me that I needed to apply for it, and as I was kind of putting it together, I was like, well, I'm just gonna do this as a exercise. I don't know if I'm gonna necessarily win or anything, but it actually I ended up being honored, and so it was an honor to be honored, and so it was just cool, man, to be a part of, to be recognized, to be a part of the many people in Birmingham that are doing community work, doing good things in the city to help attract other people to the city, and so it was good. It was good.
Okay. And we were talking earlier, that I definitely got to pinpoint this. You were talking about capital, but we were talking about social capital.
Yeah.
Man, please break that down.
Yeah. So I believe that monetary capital is really the lowest capital that you can have. I believe that social capital, for one, is of higher value than financial capital, because social capital allows you, as they say, favor ain't fair. So because I may have a relationship with somebody that may get me into a room that I'm not necessarily qualified to be in. I may be able to, do some things or have access to capital based on some of the people that I know, or resources that other people have. Intellectual capital. Intellectual capital will get you financial capital. It will get you social capital. It'll get you, into a lot of different places. So, I think that capital money is a byproduct of, ideas, relationships, emotional intelligence. Emotional capital is another thing, right? Like, you can have all this money, but if you don't know how to properly manage your emotions, you can blow it. And so I just always try and keep things in a proper perspective, that money is the byproduct. If you focus on one of my favorite quotes, Jim Rohn, he says that your level of income will never exceed your level of personal development. So if I focus on my personal development, then income will come.
Okay. Okay, and well, you bringing up Jim Rohn, that's definitely one of my guys. Jim Rohn, Ed Thomas, Larry Brown. So when it came to becoming an entrepreneur, like, what were some of your influences?
Some of my influences, I would say, one of the first people that I actually could touch, that I saw that was like an entrepreneur and really kind of doing it in the Birmingham space, was Antonio Spurling. he was a big influence to me. Still is one of my mentors. I attend his Bible studies that he has on Wednesdays, True Bible Study. Y'all come to Ensley and come holler at us. But he was one of the first people. And then I kind of drew inspiration, from even other entrepreneurs around me. So for example, Trey Washington, he owns the Cottons building downtown Ensley. So I've seen him, build and grow and continue to, evolve. And so, those were kind of some of, the first ones, like, my peers who I looked at as influences that helped, motivate me to, want to be an entrepreneur.
Okay. And with you working in the transportation industry, you were telling me earlier there were some other organizations that you work with also.
Yeah, the Dannon Project, I do community work with them. So I used to teach pathways out of poverty, conflict resolution, work keys. I used to go into all of the prisons and do some teaching and different things. So to me, success is when you create value inside of yourself. Significance is when you create value inside of someone else. So, for me, the greatest thing that we can do in this life is giving to other people. When you die, nobody talks about what you accumulated. They talk about what you gave away. What you did for other people, what you did for your community, your family, for your nation, for the world. And so, again, I always try and keep things in proper perspective and understand, even as an entrepreneur, you're a servant. We serve people at a high level, and based upon that value, we get compensated. So I don't ever want to, forget that the crux of success is service.
Okay. And that's very true. That's spot on. And when it comes to, like, I'll say, we'll speak on Birmingham, economic development within our communities. As with us being two entrepreneurs, what do you see that we could do collectively in Birmingham to help our economic development in the inner city?
I talk to a lot of people in economic development. My guy JC, I literally asked him the other day, what is if you had to say like one thing as the fulcrum to economic development, and he said it starts with a job. It starts with a job. So I believe that us working together, organizing, collaborating in order to bring good jobs, good jobs, housing, I think those are the things that we care about. You want a place where you can raise your family, where you can go to work and be a part of a community, and so I think that's where it starts. And again, I think it starts with each individual wanting to do something for somebody else. A community back in the day, when I was growing up, it seemed like communities were more communal. You had, if somebody cooked, they gonna tell such and such to go get a plate, right? And so now we do things and it's like it's very isolated. And so I think we have to get back to, things being about other people. And I think we just, kind of selfish nowadays. And if we can get back to, caring about other people, wanting to see other people do well, wanting to see other people succeed, I think that's a starting point to having great communities.
Okay. And what do you feel kind of created that isolation?
I think we live in a me generation. We kind of a me mentality. I think, even like, what's that? Everybody takes selfies, right? Like selfie, me, right? And so it's like, just culturally, I think, it's easy to be focused on yourself nowadays. And I think with like, social media and, there's like this inherent competition that's kind of like built in. when you are always seeing someone's highlight reels. That's what social media is. It's the highlight reels, right? And so I think that it just kind of creates a selfishness where, well, I want to do that too. And what they say, comparison is the comparison is the enemy of basically, like, feeling good, And so I think a lot of times we're comparing ourselves. That's why I try and share, my failures, because as an entrepreneur, you are constantly failing forward. You may do 7, 8, 9, 10 things that don't work before you find that one thing that does work. And so I think that's important, to share, because people understand, or they can identify more with failures and having to overcome obstacles than they can just always winning, right? Like, how many guys play in the NBA and never win a championship? They never win a championship, right? And so, to me, you have all these failures, and we don't share those failures in order to, like, help other people, kind of sidestep. That's why I think mentorship is so important, because you are able to collapse time frames by talking to somebody who's probably failed at the thing that you were doing, but now they're successful at it, and they can help you, sidestep some of those failures.
Yeah, and I think that comes to the point also. In our society, I think people really believe in overnight success. And it's not real. We know that. Yeah. But I think as far as the masses, like, they'll be like, man, he came out of nowhere. But a lot of times, you ain't get to see all them quiet nights or them dark days where somebody was just, I'm cutting myself off from the world, and I can only focus on what I need to do to be successful. And I think with social media, it kind of has gotten people comfortable enough to be like, like you were saying earlier, this it's like a highlight reel. You know what I mean? And I think people disassociate the fact that, man, you don't even know how long this person really been working on this. You know what I mean? Or because a lot of people make too many announcements. I used to be one of them. I used to make a lot of announcements. Like, I'm finna do this, and then out of nowhere, it just don't never happen. I'm like, dang, I done made that announcement. You know what I'm saying? So now you might put yourself in a position to lose even more just to get validated by social media. And I said that to say this, when you said that about those highlights, how do you feel social media has impacted us, not only as a culture, but as far as how we move in the business world?
I think it's definitely been some benefits to it. I mean, social media has basically deregulated marketing. You know what I'm saying? To the point to where, once upon a time, I remember, like, with my moving company, I used to have to, for me to get leads, I would have to go through, like, Angie's List or Home Advisor and, like, all of these other aggregates, right? And so then when I start looking at, like, social media, like, I can create my own ads. I can get leads at a much cheaper, cost per click or return on ad spend than I can going through other people. And so I think it has created a entrepreneurial environment, because now you're able to market yourself, brand yourself at the speed of information. So I think there's some